Now, one day after House Democrats sent him a subpoena, Rudy Giuliani is mounting his defense. Sorry. He just hired Watergate-era attorney John Sale and now is considering future steps. Now, Rudy, welcome back. Finish your thought, but what are those steps? We'll get back to that timeline. But what are the steps?
Let's talk about this, because this is kind of like the future. And I had a couple of talks with civil rights lawyers and constitutional lawyer today, and here's what they're recommending: that we should bring a lawsuit on behalf of the president and several of the people in the administration, maybe even myself as a lawyer, against the members of Congress individually for violating constitutional rights, violating civil rights. They're doing extraordinary things. For example, they are interfering with the president and exercising his rights under Article 2. The president of the United States has to conduct a foreign policy in the United States. They're calling foreign leaders. They're going to foreign capitals. Senator Murphy went and threatened the president of Ukraine with no Democratic support if you cooperate with the investigation.
So you want to go to court against the House? They wouldn't get congressional immunity unless they said it on the House floor, right? So anything that they say.
Yeah, I found a really good case. I found a really good case today about
all right, assuming you
a conspiracy to violate civil rights. If it isn't, except for what they say on the floor, they are as liable for that as anything else. How about the congressman who threatened to arrest the attorney general?
Let's remind everyone, in light of what you just said.
Outside of Congress, he did.
What Maxine Waters is saying. Can we play that, guys? What she said, I don't know. Yes, I think we. Oh, it's just a tweet. Sorry. She basically said that the president should be put in solitary confinement.
There's a congressman who said on May 8th, 2019, that the attorney general should be arrested. That was outside of Congress. Schiff said he had...
They'll say Trump says so-and-so's guilty of treason. I mean, there's the tweet. You know, I mean, so it's whose axe is gored here. Everyone's going to be doing everyone else. Are you worried that you shouldn't have mentioned those texts last week on our show, because now they know you have them, so then they subpoenaed you? Or do you think they would have subpoenaed you anyway? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm glad you showed us the text.
They would have subpoenaed me.
Do you have any more texts? I'd like to see.
Yeah, I do.
Good.
Many more.
Oh, you do? Okay, there's another subpoena.
I also have video recordings. And I have interview notes, which I made in pursuance of my role as his defense attorney. So if this is an attorney-client privilege, there's no such thing as an attorney-client privilege. We'll also sue them for trying to violate the attorney-client privilege. We can also sue them for doing things like obstructing justice. I mean, writing letters to Italy and to other countries that have evidence of criminality concerning a setup and a frame-up is obstructing a criminal investigation.
Rudy, one of the things that
it's a better theory than Mueller's.
It's novel, but we've never seen Congress do anything like this
and
before.
As
Alan Dershowitz just said, this is unprecedented.
This will be a civil case in which we can take discovery. Also, we'll sue Schiff for...
So they all have to lawyer up. You're telling the Democrats, if you're doing this to the country, our economy, our trade, our foreign policy, lawyer up.
I think we have to raise their violation of Constitution and civil rights. This is worse than McCarthy. How about a totally illicit impeachment proceeding? This is an illicit impeachment proceeding.
Do you consider this tantamount, what they've done, to foreign interference in an election? They've accused Trump wrongly of that.
Well, they actually did it.
So they did. This was what the angle was tonight.
That's what I was investigating in Ukraine.
In the election.
What I was investigating in Ukraine, which there's plenty of evidence of, is the only interference in this election by a foreign government directly is Ukraine at the behest of Hillary Clinton.
But you had foreign actors. You had a Brit, you had an Aussie, you had a Maltese, you had a Pekingese.
And we had at least 2 named Ukrainians who have been found guilty in a Ukrainian court of interfering on behalf of Hillary.
Yet the liberal media, Rudy, and this is part of what the president's up against, let's face it. He's up against a media that refuses, aggressively incurious about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. What they say is, oh, this is all right-wing conspiracy. This is Rudy Giuliani's blathering.
Can we go back to my lawsuit? I want to give you another example of what we can do with this lawsuit.
He's unbelievable.
One other thing with the lawsuit. Let's just suppose that this whole thing with the what would we call him, witch hunter?
No. It's election interference.
The guy who put the complaint out. We don't know his name. The anonymous whistleblower. I know. I keep thinking witch hunter. But I'm sorry. I don't mean to demean him at all. He may be telling the truth.
Might be a she.
But he may be lying.
Yeah.
Okay. Suppose there was a conspiracy to develop that with people like some members of Congress. That wouldn't be immune. That'd be a conspiracy to
Do you
violate
have
civil rights.
evidence for that, or are we just throwing that out there?
I'm saying, suppose there could be.
I could suppose a lot of things, right?
Let me give you evidence, okay? Yeah. Somebody conspired to deprive him of the right of confrontation and the right to call witnesses. The whole purpose of not getting a vote, you realize that. The whole purpose of not getting a vote on impeachment is, had they gotten a vote on impeachment, that Republicans would have the right to subpoena witnesses.
They want to drag this out, right?
No, but they're depriving him of basic rights.
So
it's a deliberate deprivation
so this is a legal
of civil rights.
tactic. You are discussing a legal tactic, which I find interesting. It is novel, but we're in uncharted territory right now.
Have you ever seen
I've never seen any
trampling
of this.
of constitutional rights and civil rights?
Rudy, this is sui generis.
Coming after their lawyer.
Let's throw Latin
They're trying to get rid of his government lawyer, Barr, and his private lawyer, me. And you know why they want to get rid of us? Because we're effective. Do you think? How about putting out a demand to silence me? I think that happens in
well, that was to set you off. They just wanted to set you off into a frenzy. I think.
It wasn't.
That was their.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
You don't think they were just playing around there, or do you think they're really threatening?
No, I have some evidence that a few people have agreed to do that.
Who?
I can't tell you yet. I'm still doing my discovery.
Rudy, they want to say that this is a conspiracy theory about Hunter Biden. There's no evidence, or it's been largely, if not totally, debunked.
Okay.
That's what they say. John Solomon's reporting. They always say, "Oh, that's been debunked. It's been walked back."
Except it's totally untrue. No one's debunked it.
Why won't the media focus on
Because they are covering up for the Democrats, because they are more corrupt than anyone realizes. They are covering up serious crimes that were committed against the United States by the Biden family in taking millions and multi-millions of dollars and putting the United States in a very compromised position.
Let me tell you.
Everybody in the Ukraine knew that money was going to buy Joe Biden. And everybody in China knows that they weren't investing in that stupid private equity fund with Whitey Bulger's.
Very profitable.
With Whitey Bulger's.
He loves saying Whitey Bulger.
With Whitey Bulger's nephew.
Yeah. All right. Here's
they were
what
buying the Chinese.
I want to tell you what you're up against when you go to Capitol Hill, because I can tell you exactly what they're going to say. Because I want you to do a preview of what they're going to do if you decide to testify at all. The use of Giuliani as an emissary to a foreign government is not unprecedented, but is unusual. Woodrow Wilson, Franklin D. Roosevelt had private emissaries involved in global peace talks. I think what's worrying, though, is that Giuliani wasn't tasked with carrying out secret negotiations to advance the interests of the country, but he was effectively acting as an arm of Trump's reelection campaign. That's an expert with Strategic Center for International Studies.
That assumes two things. First of all, it's there as a private lawyer. Secondly, it assumes that it's not in the interest of the country to dig up massive corruption by one of the highest office holders in the United States.
You were
it's not in the
helping his reelection campaign or working for him as a private lawyer?
I heard about this 2 years before the election, where Joe Biden wasn't even a candidate. He hadn't announced, and it was absolutely necessary in order for me to defend him. Yeah. They have decided it's not against the interest of the United States to uncover Joe Biden's multi-year
Rudy will have you back, and I can't wait to find out what happens with that appearance before the Hill. Well,